the current administration has fought what has perhaps been the most incipient corruption that has been entrenched in the rice value chain. Thanks for watching. It's been Agricultural Prosperity. Enjoy the rest of the day.
This is Mambila Plateau, a place in Nigeria endowed with enormous natural resources. The topography, the undulating plains, and exciting rock formations. Waterfalls and waterways are second to none. Said to be the highest point in Nigeria, Mambila Plateau is the home of the largest hydroelectricity project in West Africa. Mambila Plateau, a virgin beauty waiting to be exploited for tourism.
Welcome to Nigeria, a fascinating country. Take a trip through one of the most beautiful places on earth. A journey of discovery. A unique opportunity to get in touch with unspoiled nature. Enjoy your time in a place that offers something for everyone. A land of beautiful contrasts. An experience you won't forget.
Hello and welcome to the news of this hour on NTA International. I am Fatima Umar Buba. Now the headlines. Military takes over in Sudan after ousting of President al-Bashir, who runs the country for 3 decades. President Muhammadu Buhari meets service chiefs, gives marching orders to quell insurrection. And Joint Admission and Matriculation Board commences university's matriculation examination. Now the news in full. President Umar al-Bashir, who ruled Sudan for 30 years, has been overthrown in a coup by the country's armed forces, which announced a 2-year period of military rule to be followed by elections. Justin Bem Oye gives us a highlight on al-Bashir's 3 decades rule.
The political system of the Republic of Sudan was restructured following a military coup on 30th June 1989, when Omar al-Bashir, then a brigadier in the Sudanese army, led a group of officers and ousted the government of Prime Minister Sadiq al-Mahdi. Under al-Bashir's leadership, the new military government suspended political parties and introduced an Islamic legal code on the national level. He then became chairman of the Revolutionary Command Council for National Salvation, a newly established body with legislative and executive powers for what was described as a transitional period, and assumed the posts of Chief of State, Prime Minister, Chief of the Armed Forces, and Minister of Defense. In 1993, Sudan transformed into an Islamic totalitarian one-party state as al-Bashir abolished the Revolutionary Command Council and created the National Islamic Front, NIF, with a new parliament and government obtained solely by members of the NIF, and proclaimed himself President of Sudan.
Every competent observer of developments in the Sudan will have noticed that Omar al-Bashir has since outlived his usefulness in that country, and it was just a matter of time that the people should get him out of the office.
Despite his international arrest warrant, Omar al-Bashir was re-elected in the 2010 Sudanese presidential election, the first democratic election with multiple political parties participating in 9 years. In 1999, a power struggle climaxed between President Omar al-Bashir and Hassan al-Turabi, NIF founder, Islamist ideologue, and Speaker of Parliament. In early 2018, demonstrations erupted over soaring food prices, notably bread. The protesters were swiftly dispersed and opposition leaders and activists rounded up. In August, the ruling party nominated Bashir as its candidate for the 2020 presidential election, despite the constitution having a 2-term limit. And on December 19, protests again began in several towns after the government tripled the price of bread, soon turning into rolling nationwide anti-government rallies.
March to the street, and that is why it's important that leaders know how to manage the economy, and manage the living conditions of their people to ensure that no matter the level of hardship, they try to balance the economy, that the poor don't suffer so much, because there is an extent to which you can push the poor. Because when they react, they don't lose anything when they react, and I think that is what has really happened in Sudan.
The demonstrations continued into 2019, with some political groups calling for a new regime. Authorities were accused of a harsh crackdown, including using live ammunition, with Human Rights Watch saying at least 51 people were killed since the start, although the official toll is around 31. And now, having weathered several storms including armed rebellions, economic crisis, and attempts by the West to make him a pariah, Bashir was forced to step down by the military on Thursday after days of protests.
That what is happening in Sudan is not necessarily a welcome development. Yes, the people of Sudan might celebrate this, but we shouldn't see this happening in Africa. This is not what we should be celebrating.
During his 30-year rule, Bashir was a master at playing rival factions among security services, the military, Islamists, and armed tribes off against each other. Justin Bemunyi.
Now, a career diplomat and former Nigerian ambassador to Sudan, Ambassador Suleiman Dahiru, now joins us in the studio to give more perspectives to the recent development in Sudan and lessons to be learned by other African leaders. Welcome to NTA International Studios, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. Mr. Ambassador, we've watched a report, we've seen, and we've heard from Justin Bemunyi. Now, what would you say? What can you make of the recent development in Sudan?
The developments in Sudan, especially when the demonstrations started on 19th December 2018, the signs were very clear that the people were tired not only of President al-Bashir, but they were tired of military rule.
Okay.
Now, from the broadcast by the Minister of Defense, it will appear to me to be a misreading of the mood of the people of Sudan. They don't have the stomach for 2 more years of military rule. And that is why the professional groups kicked against the military continuing to rule for another 2 years.
Okay.
How this is going to be sorted out, I cannot tell. But they have called on the people to continue with the demonstration.
Okay, now, Mr. Ambassador, going by the allegations of corruption and high-handedness leveled against President al-Bashir, will you say that the Sudanese military is justified?
You mean the coup is justified?
Yes, because of the allegations, I'm asking you now. What do you think because of the allegations of corruption and high-handedness leveled against the president? Do you think what the military did is justified?
No, if you follow the history of Sudan, it has been a militarized country for long. And al-Bashir alone ruled for 30 years. The people were emasculated. They were virtually maltreated. And their living standard continued to go down. So they are marginalized within the scope of things within the government. It got to a stage that if you are not an Arab, it is very difficult for you to make any headway.
Okay.
So a combination of many things came into play before the military decided to oust Omar al-Bashir.
Okay. So now, how best should the nation's political crisis be solved? What do you think?
Pardon?
I mean, how best should the nation's political crisis be solved? How best should it be solved? You've been an ambassador of Sudan, Nigeria to Sudan. So you must have an idea of how you think is best for the political crisis to be solved there.
There are so many confusing things, and it will take a lot of reading of the situation for one to understand. I think right from the word go,
okay,
things were not handled properly. And I spoke at another place where I said, for Sudan to make any meaningful change, the National Congress Party, the ruling party, has to be disbanded.
All right. So Mr. Ambassador, what lessons are there for other African countries and leaders to learn from what is happening, or what is happening in Sudan?
You know, it's very unfortunate what is going on the continent of Africa.
Yes.
It would appear as if leaders are not learning any lesson. We have so many countries where the leaders were forced out of office. Bouteflika recently in Algeria. We had Blaise Compaoré in Burkina Faso.
Okay.
And Hosni Mubarak in Egypt and also other places.
Okay.
For me, I think we have to redefine what is leadership. Unless we redefine leadership to understand that it is service to the people and not service to oneself or one's family, then things will continue to get worse instead of better.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambassador Suleiman Ahiru. Thank you very much for coming on NTA International News. Yes, I have been speaking with Ambassador Suleiman Ahiru. He was the former ambassador of Nigeria to Sudan. And for more trending news from other parts of the globe, here is Uche Ugochukwu.
Hello there. Indians voted on Thursday at the start of a general election, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi seeking a second term after campaigning fervently on a plank of national security, following tension with neighboring Pakistan. Nearly 900 million people are eligible to vote during the 7 phases of balloting spread over 39 days, and vote counting set for May 23. And the European Union leaders have given Britain 6 more months to leave the bloc, more than Prime Minister Theresa May says she needs, but less than many in the bloc wanted. The summit deal in Brussels in the early hours of Thursday meant Britain will not crash out on Friday without a treaty to smooth its passage, but it offers little clarity on when, how, or even if Brexit will happen, as May struggles to build support in Parliament for withdrawal terms agreed with the EU last year. Finally, the International Committee of the Red Cross said it has reached agreements with the Venezuelan government of Nicolas Maduro to expand aid operations, supporting hospitals and health centers in providing vital medical care. Thanks for staying with us. I am Uche Ugochukwu.
Now, security agencies in the country have been given marching orders to do whatever it takes towards putting an immediate end to the various acts of crimes and criminality in Zamfara and other parts of the country. President Muhammadu Buhari issued the order at a strategic meeting with the service chiefs and heads of other security agencies in his office. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
Although President Muhammadu Buhari has been meeting the security chiefs almost on a weekly basis, this particular one was in response to the prevailing sense of fear, insecurity, as well as uncertainty in parts of the country, which he described as intolerable. At the strategic meeting held behind closed doors, where the Minister of Defense, service chiefs led by the Chief of Defense Staff, Acting Inspector General of Police, as well as Director General of the Department of State Services and the National Intelligence Agency. Also in attendance include the Chief of Staff to the President, Abba Kyari, and the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Gida Mustafa.
The security meeting we've just had with Mr. President is to review the strategy that we are adopting in confronting the security issues in Zamfara State especially, and other places nationwide. And this review strategy is to address all the issues including kidnapping, banditry, and other associated issues confronting the nation.
During the meeting, which lasted about 2 hours, President Muhammadu Buhari expressed serious concern over the heightened tension amongst Nigerians following renewed hostilities by criminal elements that constantly threaten lives and livelihoods. This, he warned, must be brought to an end for peace to reign supreme in the land.
The marching order is for us to deal with this issue immediately and ruthlessly and ensure that all those bandits are immediately dealt with, and all those issues that are bordering with our security are properly addressed.
On his part, the Acting Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu, is assuring Nigerians that solutions have been found to the acts of kidnapping along Abuja-Kaduna Road.
I want to assure Nigerians that Kaduna-Abuja Road is now safe. We have cleared the road. We've arrested a lot of the kidnappers, and in confrontation with some of them, some were fatally injured. So the road is cleared. Our patrol teams, the combined security services that are patrolling the road are there constantly 24 hours.
The acting IGP has just returned from the northwest Nigeria on a fact-finding mission. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Nigerian military, for operational purposes, recently relocated communities in Jakan, Aunu and Mainu, located in Kaga and Konduga local government areas of Borno State, to internally displaced persons camps. To address concerns raised by the action, Governor Kashim Shettima is in Abuja for meetings with some heads of security agencies. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has the details.
Considering the evolving and complex nature of security threats in the Northeast, deliberations were held behind closed doors. Top on the agenda is the recent spate of attacks and issues surrounding the relocation of communities to avoid collateral damages that may occur in the ongoing Operation Yenchin Tapki involving the Nigerian military and the multinational joint task force. Addressing journalists, the Minister of Defense, Mansour Dan Ali, expressed government's commitment to ensure safety of lives and property across the country.
You cannot uproot somebody from his village because of operation. You know, we had two means of dealing with insurgency. We had the hard approach and the political approach. The political approach is where you take people along, where you call them winning the hearts and minds of the populace. Then the other one, the hard approach, is the military approach, which we've been doing. And politically, I think we are looking into that. We are going to have a security brief. I'll brief the council on the issue, and we'll come to a common understanding.
And has appreciated the depth of our feeling and has promised to address those issues before the week runs out.
After a similar meeting with the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Buratai, Governor Kashim Shettima expressed confidence and satisfaction on measures to address issues raised.
We have come to him, and he has promptly addressed our concerns, and we remain eternally grateful to officers and men of the Nigerian Army for all the sacrifices they have made. My concerns have been laid to rest.
The governor was also at the headquarters, Department of State Services, for a similar mission. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja. Stay tuned for more after the break. Good to know you're still with us. The Senate has confirmed the appointment of 3 persons as career ambassador designate. Its Committee on Foreign Affairs screened the nominees as described them as well experienced and of good conduct. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unko reports.
Initially, it was uncertain if Thursday's plenary was going to hold because of the announcement by Chief Whip that the Senate did not meet quorum. Shortly, the uncertainty gave way and Senate President Bukola Saraki proceeded with business of the day. The first item for consideration on the order paper was that of the report of its Committee on Foreign Affairs on the screening and confirmation of 3 nominees from Mr. President as ambassadors designate.
All the nominees appeared before the committee and were duly screened in the line with perimeters set down for the exercise.
On behalf of the third colleagues, the 8th Senate, let me congratulate the 3 new career ambassador designate and wish them a successful tenure, continue to work for our great country.
6 nominees were also confirmed as members of the Board of National Bureau of Statistics, with Kabiru Nakaura as chairman. Senate passed the Education National Minimum Standard and Establishment of Institutions Amendment Bill, while the bill for the establishment of the Federal University of Education, Science and Agriculture, Ogoniland, River State, sponsored by Senator Magnus Abe, was passed for second reading.
The Education Minimum Standard Act is a 1985 legislation which combined regulatory functions of the National University Commission, National Board for Technical Education Commission, and National Commission for Colleges of Education.
We cater for the scientific and agricultural science development of the Niger Delta region.
They will have the opportunity of addressing the environmental challenges around not only Ogoniland, but also through the Niger Delta.
Senator Shehu Sani, as a matter of personal opinion, urged the federal government and all Nigerians to intensify efforts towards rescuing Leah Sharibu and the other Chibok girls, especially through dialogue.
Efforts have actually been made by the government, but it has not been able to provide the necessary result.
Senate has received the report of its Committee on Power on the Electric Power Sector Reform Amendment Bill from the National Assembly. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
The federal government has cautioned former Vice President and the PDP presidential candidate in the February 23rd presidential elections, Atiku Abubakar, to toe the path of honor and patriotism rather than heating up the polity in the name of seeking for redress. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed stated this at a media briefing in Abuja. Anthony Forson reports.
Recently, posters of former Vice President and the PDP presidential candidate in the February 23rd presidential election surfaced on the streets of Abuja. It is in response to this that the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, flanked by the Senior Special Assistant Media and Publicity to the President, Malam Garba Shehu, wondered if Atiku Abubakar has embarked on a fresh campaign, but noted that media reports have it that Atiku Abubakar has engaged the services of a U.S. lobbyist firm to convince the United States government not to recognize President Muhammadu Buhari until the Supreme Court rules on the suit filed by the PDP presidential candidate.
What Alhaji Abubakar Atiku is up to? Is he starting a fresh campaign after the elections have been won and lost? Has he rescinded his decision to challenge the results of the presidential election in court? Perhaps after realizing that the results he claimed to have obtained from the INEC-backed servers are cooked? Is he now going for self-help? What really is Atiku's motive?
The minister maintained that President Muhammadu Buhari won the election fair and square and called on Atiku not to be deluded.
There's no doubt that the fair PDP presidential candidate, out of desperation, is thinking of replicating the Venezuelan model right here in Nigeria. But you should realize that Nigeria is not Venezuela and that the situations in both countries are not the same.
Pointing at President Muhammadu Buhari's pro-poor policies as a huge success which fueled his re-election, the minister said Atiku Abubakar should take solace in the fate that has befallen him.
He should stop overheating the polity and quit trying to instigate a political crisis in Nigeria. No citizen, no matter how highly placed, is above the laws of the land. Enough is enough.
In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
The first batch of the 1.2 million accredited candidates have started sitting for this year's Joint Admission and Matriculation Board examination across the country. NTA in Abuja monitored the exercise, which had biometrics before and after the examination.
This is the first time the Joint Admissions Matriculation Board (JAMB) is introducing the biometric data capturing of candidates before and after the computer-based examinations at the Global Distant Learning Institute in the nation's capital city. Candidates were seen filing in one after the other to confirm their fingerprints before proceeding to the exam hall.
It's going fine. They captured me once.
Based on this venue, I can rate them 75.
It was safe one because my hands was not wet.
There are 3 sessions for today. There's the 7 o'clock session, there's the 10 o'clock session, and then there's the 1 p.m. session.
The story is similar at the Cham City Center.
It was good, but they actually wasted our time.
While the exercise was adjudged seamless, there are few candidates whose fingerprints were not initially recognized.
So they did all my fingers and they did it again. Didn't come out. I was asked to go to the toilet and wash my hands.
I had to go and buy pens outside. So still my hand was sweating. And that was the reason.
Most of their hands are sweating. So we need to clean them with spirit and with this cotton wool. If they are not capturing, I'll now ask them to go to the restroom and use water and soap and wash their hands properly. Then it will.
So far, have you had any case of anyone that, despite washing and all of that, was still not able to capture?
No, there's none.
Some parents at the centers visited made some observations.
We are told that they should not go in with anything except their sleep. And some of them are just coming out. They said that they needed pencil. They did not give them pencil as was said earlier on.
The federal government has said that they reduce the money of JAM and NECO effective from January 2019. But out now, we are paying more than that. What is the problem? We wanted the federal government to let us know.
The exercise continues until Tuesday, April 16, 2019 in Abuja. NTA News.
And that's it on the news for now on NTA International. I am Fatima Umar Buba. Bye for now.